and welcome. Tonight, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, commences the distribution of sensitive materials to various local government areas of Edo State ahead of Saturday's governorship election. The police promises to deliver on the mandate of providing an enabling environment for a violence-free election, Edo governorship election. And we'll deal with unlawful conduct that's coming from them. The Presidential Committee on Livestock Sector Reforms Implementation submitted its own report to the President at the State House, Abuja.
On business news tonight, Nigeria sets to receive $1.5 billion loan from the World Bank on September the 26th, following approval of the lending request by the International Finance Institution.
On sports, Team Delta emerges champions of the 8th National Youth Games for the second consecutive time as the multi-sports events for 15 and under ends in Asaba, the Delta State capital.
And from the nation's capital, the Court of Appeal Abuja grants the request of the federal government and the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, to settle out of court in an appeal challenging his removal as CJN.
And in international news from London, Lebanon remains on edge after thousands of electronic devices exploded, killing dozens of people across 2 days.
We begin with elections in Edo State. Ahead of Saturday's governorship election, stakeholders from within and outside the state have highlighted issues they want the security agencies and INEC to look into. In a pre-election conference in Benue City, the Edo State capital, on Thursday, UNGA Africa raised concerns about areas that are possible violent spots. The police, in another meeting with stakeholders, also in Benue City, maintained that it is fully prepared for the election and is determined to provide a level playing field for all involved. The People's Democratic Party, the PDP, says that it has the best interest of Edo workers at heart. Therefore, a vote for any other party will be a major setback for the civil service. The governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, and the governorship candidate of the PDP, Asue Godalo, led the advocacy visit to civil servants and residents.
There's no relenting in the search for votes as PDP campaigns for the 2024 governorship election in Edo State enters its closing moments. Governor Godwin Obaseki and the governorship candidate Asue Godalo lead the campaign train into the Victor Waifo Creative Hub. This session is a meeting with senior civil servants in Edo State. Mr. Obaseki reminds the workers of their achievements over the past 8 years. He says it will be suicidal for the workers not to vote for the PDP.
If, God forbid, we do not elect Asue Godalo to continue, let us not even imagine what will happen. So, I'm here to say, God has made it possible for us to continue because He has given us the candidates I know, I believe, and I trust to continue.
From present to past workers, another meeting is scheduled with pensioners at the John Odige Oyegu Public Service Academy. Here, the party's candidate tells his audience that he has a background in the public service, the reason why he should be trusted to treat workers right.
You enter person house, waiting your papa they do, waiting your mama they do. If they say a civil servant, enter. Public servant, enter. When they say businessman, wait outside first. Which kind business? So now those values where we don't lose, where we must get back. And that's why our governor, because he grew up with such values, he understood the importance of when you have worked and you have worked and labored, and there's a contributory process. That contributory process must come back and take care of you in old age.
It's less than 48 hours to a decision day for Edo State. The People's Democratic Party believes it has put its best foot forward and has done enough as incumbents in office to continue in power.
And we go back to our lead story on UNGA Africa, and we tell you, where we told you that ahead of Saturday's election in Edo State, the stakeholders within and outside the state have highlighted issues they want security agencies and INEC to look into. In a pre-election conference in Benue City, UNGA Africa raised concerns about areas that are possible violent spots.
The focus of this UNGA Africa pre-election conference for the Edo governorship election, scheduled for Saturday, includes areas that wants key stakeholders in the election, including the security agencies and the electoral umpire, to address.
UNGA Africa has identified 8 local government areas as hotspots for violence. The volatile security environment in these local government areas necessitates a strategic and neutral deployment of security forces.
The PRVT methodology enables us to provide accurate information on the conduct of the election as well as the results. So if there are cases, we will detect and we will communicate that to Nigerians.
For the Nigeria Police Force, preparation is on towards Saturday's election, as reflected in the activities around and within the state command headquarters. In the conference hall, the Deputy Inspector General of Police on election duty in the stakeholders meeting with media professionals, civil society organizations and accredited observers says the police are ready for the election as they have all it takes, men and equipment, and will deliver on the mandate of providing an enabling environment for a violence-free election.
We want to reassure the people of Edo State that we will provide a level playing field for everybody. We will be politically neutral, we will be professional, we will enforce the laws strictly, firmly, but politely. We will hold people accountable when they infringe on the laws.
He insists that members of the public should not campaign at polling units or bring along objects that could be used as weapons. He also explains that the operations of the policemen deployed would cover land, water and air, with roving and monitoring teams also available to keep an eye on their activities.
We will also be policing the borders between Edo and Ondo, Edo and Kogi, Edo and Anambra, Edo and Delta. We will also be policing the waterways, the creeks, the rivers, the coastal communities. We will also be carrying out roving patrols.
Another reminder highlighted is that citizens avoid fake news by fact-checking information or contacting the police with inquiries via the phone numbers provided.
And from elections in Edo State, we head to Imo State. Ahead of the local government elections slated for Saturday, September the 21st, the Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma says that All Progressive Congress, the APC, remains a party to beat in the election. Addressing party supporters at the APC mega rally at the Ndubisi Kanu Square in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the governor appealed to indigenes of the state to come out en masse on Saturday to vote the APC in order to continue the good governance put in place at the state level.
APC! APC!
Supporters and leaders of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in their numbers, gather at the Ndubisi Kanu Square in Owerri, the Imo State capital, for the grand finale of their campaign ahead of Saturday's local government council elections. In attendance is the national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, the host, Governor Hope Uzodimma, and his counterpart from Ekiti State, Governor Abiodun Yebanji.
As we gather here today,
the speech from the state chairman of the APC paves the way for other speeches of the day. He assures the people that the candidates who have emerged from their party primaries are credible and unbeatable.
as a party in the coming council election through a most transparent and rancor-free process. It is therefore our anticipation that we leverage on the strength of the party to sustain it to the path of victory.
The national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, advises the APC candidates at all levels to ensure that if elected into office, they must deliver good governance to the people at the grassroots.
You will go and build a solid foundation for the administration of your local government. Therefore, you must be focused. You must be determined. You must be calculative. You must be scientific in your undertaking. Ladies and gentlemen, there is not enough time. Therefore, I congratulate you. I'm sure all of you will succeed in winning the election.
For Governor Hope Uzodinma, the only party to reckon with in the state is the APC. While calling on the people of the state to come out en masse and vote the APC candidates, he says he's optimistic that his party will emerge victorious.
So go there on Saturday, show the number, show the traffic, vote all APC candidates. By voting APC candidates, you are voting the completion of all the ongoing projects in Imo State. You are voting the introduction of new projects in Imo State. You are voting for rural electrification in Imo State. You are voting for good drinking water in Imo State. You are voting for good roads. And at the end of the day, it will be a testimony that the APC-led government at the federal, at the state, and at the local government is what Imo State people are voting for.
With 48 hours to the Imo State Local Government Council election, the State Independent Electoral Commission has promised a free, fair, and credible polls devoid of violence and intimidation. Eji Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the PDP candidate of the chairmanship seat of the Abombise local government area of Imo State in Saturday's local government election, Dumebi Fanyi Chukwu, has promised to attract exceptional development to Abombise local government area if elected as chairman. He disclosed this during a campaign rally at Chioma Junwa Sports Center in Kwara community in Abombise local government area of Imo State. The chairman of Kwara State Independent Electoral Commission, Mohammed Baba Kala, has said that the only 5 political parties, the APC, PDP, APM, SDP, and Accord Party, will be participating in the local government elections in the state this Saturday. Speaking at a media parley organized by the State Council of Nigeria Union of Journalists in Ilorin, the boss says the arrangements have been made for a hitch-free local government elections coming up in all the 16 local government areas of the state. He also says that his commission is fully prepared for the council poll, adding that Kwasiek has worked diligently to ensure the electoral process is well planned and organized.
A level playing ground must be given to all the intending political parties that might want to participate in the election. But for the easy conduct of the said election, all the parties that will have shown interest to contest the election, by law, are supposed to provide party agents that will man where votes are casted. We have persuaded all party contestants, party aspirants, all party stalwart and party follower to maintain peace and order, so that it's not for the interest of the Kwara staff alone, for the interest of contestants, the voters, and the Kwarans at large.
In part 2, after the break, the federal government commences the dredging and the silting of the Ogun River downstream between Isheri in Ogun State and Ikorodu in Lagos State to check the perennial flooding in that area. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, commences the distribution of sensitive materials to various local government areas of Edo State ahead of Saturday's governorship election. The police promises to deliver on the mandate of providing an enabling environment for violence-free election in Edo governorship election and will deal with unlawful conduct. And the Presidential Committee on Livestock Sector Reforms Implementation submits its report to the President at the State House, Abuja. Chairman of the committee, Professor UNGA, says that it will be counterproductive to immediately stop open grazing as a traditional method of pastoralism. And Lebanon remains on edge after thousands of electronic devices exploded across 2 days. Staying with the Edo governorship polls, and INEC is now reminding all political parties that in line with Section 94, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 and Item 12 of the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2024 Edo governorship elections, all campaigns by political parties end at midnight today, Thursday, 19th September 2024. The statement issued by INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Mr. Sam Olumeko, notes that it is illegal for any political party in Edo State to engage in rallies, processions, or media campaigns from midnight today. The statement adds that these prohibitions include sanctions and provided for in Section 96 of the Electoral Act 2022. According to Mr. Olumeko, on election day, parties, candidates, and their supporters should not appear at the polling units in their campaign attires or carry any campaign materials with them. The federal government has commenced the dredging and the silting of the Ogun River downstream between Isheri in Ogun State and Ikorodu in Lagos State. This is to check perennial flooding, which has continued to devastate lives and property in communities around the river downstream. The Managing Director and Chief Executive of Ogun Osun River Basin Development Authority, Adedeji Ashiru, during the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding for the project at the Ikorodu end of the river downstream, says that this has become imperative in view of the expected downpour in the state, which could lead to flooding. The 10-kilometer dredging project from the Ikorodu end to Isheri is expected to be carried out in phases. The dredging and the silting of the 10-kilometer Onyo Dam downstream from Ikorodu in Lagos and Isheri in Ogun State is coming at a time after a prediction of heavy downpour by NIMET, and to forestall the perennial devastating effects, the federal government has flagged off the process. The event attracted the presence of the management team of the Ogun Osun River Basin Development Authority, led by the Managing Director, Adedeji Ashiru, the traditional ruler of Isheri, contractors, community leaders, and residents.
The federal government of Nigeria, through the Ogun Osun River Basin Development Authority, has made provision for the commencement of the dredging exercise, which will be carried out in phases.
While giving the rationale behind the project by the federal government, the Managing Director and Chief Executive of the authority says that there is a need for the dredging exercise to improve the free flow and containment of excess water released from the Onyo Dam, which has always been aggravated by a complex network of 52 rivers and tributaries, which contributes to rising water levels.
The dredging project we are flagging off today aims to improve water flow from the Ikorodu-Isheri section into the lagoon, reducing flood risk. By dredging this stretch, which is almost 10 kilometers, which will be done in phases, we will create a more efficient discharge path for excess water, alleviating flood risk. This contract represents a significant step forward in solving flooding challenges in this community.
The Isheri traditional ruler and chairman, Lagos Ogun River Basin Communities, commended the federal government for the project, just as they expressed their support for a successful flag-off and the completion of the project.
The entire Isheri community and Odogun, Ajewole, all of the whole community along this river line are ready and willing to cooperate with you, including all the estates and border communities that we have along the river line. We are ready to work with you. We are ready to give you all the support you would need to make this project a successful one. So I would like to implore the contractor to not hesitate to come to my palace to request and solicit for any help they may need at any time, any day.
This project, if given the necessary attention it deserves, could mitigate the loss of lives and property, which has become a yearly ritual, which has left a bitter taste in the mouth of those affected. And following the violence that trailed the Ijaw Youth Council Eastern Zone election in the Abuloma area of Port Harcourt, River State, rival groups are now pointed accusing fingers at each other. One of the chairmanship candidates in a press briefing today has called for a cancellation of the results, while the other camp is calling on security agents to question him for his role in the incidents.
On September 14th, the Eastern Zone of the Ijaw Youth Council held an election in the Abuloma area of Port Harcourt to fill vacancies in their executive setup. Sadly, the event turned violent, with no fewer than 4 people losing their lives. Now the blame game has started, with Edward Asekitamunoprim, a candidate in the said election, calling for the election to be cancelled, even as he accuses Asari Dokubo's mercenaries, better known as Amama soldiers, of being behind the violence.
I am calling for the cancellation of that election because it was marred with violence, with bloodbaths. Ijaw sons, Ijaw community, Ijaw nation are mourning. As you can see, we are all putting on black to mourn the ugly incidents that occurred on the 14th of September at the level of Abuloma.
In a swift reaction, however, the executive and elders of the IYC announced his suspension and blamed him for the violence, saying he came there with cultists, even after accepting to step down his ambition. They also absolve Asari Dokubo of any blame in the affair.
In the light of the circumstances outlined above, Comrade Asekitamunoprim Edward and Comrade Osimapo White are hereby summarily suspended from the IYC Calabar Sekbangi. Members of the public are advised not to engage in any dealings with them as it relates to IYC Calabar Sekbangi activities.
On that fateful day, just like what my senior comrade have said here,
we are not talking about a mama. This is a Ijaw Youth Council, not courtesan election. What are they looking for? Because these men came with their court members. When they came, we saw everything there. They were just moving around, meeting people with the support. Who will be a candidate?
Another member of the group shows journalists injuries she sustained during the melee and urges security agents to question Mr. Asekitamunoprim.
As a matter of fact, it was the Amama soldiers that came that even was able to control the condition. Otherwise, would have been dead. Look at my hand. They tried to stab me, and I held them. They brought to scratch me.
Is regrettable.
An IYC leader expresses regret that if their advice was heeded, the bloodshed would have been averted.
If Asekitamunoprim Edward and Osima Paul White are listening to the wise counsel of the elders and had laid down their ambition by not contesting the election, which of course they had earlier signed a document, all these things will not have happened in Abuloma. But all the same, because they said they have the right to contest, nobody stopped them. But the issue of bringing in cultists and turning the place to be, a battlefield is so bad that it affected Ijaw sons and daughters.
There are suspicions that the violence that trailed the election may not be unconnected with the political imbroglio in River State. The police say they are investigating, but have remained tight-lipped on their discoveries so far. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
The governor of Benue State, Hyacinth Alia, says that his government is concerned about providing good governance to the people and not a few individuals who consider themselves as bigwigs. He stated this while briefing State House correspondents shortly after the meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa, Abuja. He says that he was in the State House to brief the president on the affairs of Benue State, especially the security and ecological situation in the state.
We do
not have any genuine reason to talk about food insecurity in Benue State. We produce food. We were kind of slowed down by the insecurities that infested in a number of local governments, but we have picked up. And there's no stopping us at this point. And when people talk about bad governance, I earlier on mentioned here that when you come to Benue, you hardly distinguish a PDP man, an APC man, a Labour man, or you name it. All the people of Benue are looking for is good governance. Give us good roads. You know, ensure that we have our jobs. Ensure that you pick our young people off the streets. And this is why we introduced a number of things. As I'm speaking, over 10,000 youth are doing some ICT program that the state sponsored. We have sent some young people who have been to China and gotten back in 4 different batches. Next week, we're hiring 9,700 trained, educated teachers. You know, why are we doing that? We're setting a future for young people down the road. So when people say, well, instead of doing the project, give us to eat, I have a good message for them. Benue has food. We would ensure that there's more food. What I would not contend, and the masses do not even like themselves, is, you know, getting into what comes to stay as a handout.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria is set to receive a $1.5 billion loan from the World Bank on September the 26th this year, following approval of the lending request by the International Finance Institution. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. There's a widespread anxiety among residents of Ayetoro community in Yaba Local Council Development Area of Lagos State that they may soon find themselves without shelter as the state government threatens to demolish their homes. According to the residents, the threat is considered a measure by the state government to forcefully evict them after the Okobaba plank markets was set ablaze, an incident believed to have been deliberately carried out by the Lagos Task Force to dislodge the traders.
The Okebaba Plank Market, known for its vibrant trade in timber and wood products, is now a shadow of itself after it was razed by fire days back. Men identified as Lagos State officials, backed by armed policemen, had allegedly set the market on fire to forcefully remove the traders. As traders of the plank market count their losses, residents of Ayetoro, a purely residential community which shares common boundary with the market, are more worried that they could face the same fate, as they realize that some houses were demolished by the said task force.
This is our community. We have boundary. They say they are aware that we have boundary. When they walk towards that side, they will stop. That is what they tell us. Later on, they bring machine to operate it, still demolish houses from the boundary side there. Another machine come from Adekunle side towards the right street, come to our community. From that side, still demolish houses there. About 6-7 buildings there. They use it to find way to pass in the canal, because we have canal there.
Some had been forced to evacuate their homes, mostly wooden houses. Household items now occupy open spaces.
We can't see them demolishing that place, and we still stay because it's not easy for us to just stay because it's fire. We are talking about fire. Nobody can stay close to fire and just relax that they are not coming to this place. So that's the reason why most people just pack their things outside just to save their properties. Because it's not easy to lose properties, to lose home, to lose business as well.
The uncertainty surrounding residents' accommodation worsens as they are demanded to dismantle their structures before the return of the said task force.
After
then carry caterpillar come and demolish this place. Then say this is the remaining place. We should remove everything before in the night. Then we come and put fire.
It's not a fight. We know they are even more than us, so we don't have any power to say anything. This is what I just want to say. Please, they should just leave this place for us.
Hundreds of residents despair over their situation. However, they look forward to the state government's consideration, believing that with the right negotiation, they might arrive at a solution that will protect them and the government's developmental goals.
Let's continue the news at 10 now as we head over to Abuja studios where Victoria Longjohn is standing by to give us more. Hello, Victoria.
Thank you, Anne. The Court of Appeal Abuja has granted the request of the federal government and former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onnoghen, to settle out of court in an appeal challenging his removal as CJN. The decision of the court followed information that the two parties have intensified efforts to reach an amicable settlement of all issues in dispute. Former President Muhammadu Buhari had in 2019 removed Onnoghen as the Chief Justice of Nigeria during the pendency of a charge against him at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. At today's proceedings, lead counsel to the former CJN, Ogun Onoja, informed the court that the two parties are already having discussions on a peaceful resolution of the dispute. He subsequently appealed to the appellate court for a 1-month adjournment for final settlement of the matter. And President Bola Tinubu will not attend the 79th United Nations General Assembly session in New York this year. The president has directed Vice President Kashim Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation. Now, this is contained in a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. The statement notes that President Tinubu, who returned to the country last Sunday after his trip to China and the United Kingdom, wants to focus on domestic issues and address some of the country's challenges, especially after the recent devastating flood. At the UNGA 79, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, will deliver Nigeria's national statement to the General Assembly, attend important sideline events, and hold bilateral meetings. The high-level general debate the high-level general debate with the theme, Leaving No One Behind, Acting Together for the Advancement of Peace, Sustainable Development and Human Dignity for Present and Future Generations, will run from Tuesday, September 24 through Saturday, September 28, 2024. And the Presidential Committee on Implementation of Livestock Reforms has submitted its report to President Bola Tinubu with recommendations on how the country can optimize its potential in the livestock sector. Now, shortly after submitting its report to the President at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, the co-chairman of the committee, Professor Atahiru Jega, reveals that the 152-page document recommends measures that the government can use to mitigate the farmers-herders clashes across the country. According to him, the committee's position is that it will be counterproductive to immediately stop open grazing and embrace ranching.
In this report, we were able to address 12 terms of reference that were given to us as a committee, and we were able to develop 22 clear objectives of what the reform effort in the livestock sector should entail, and we've been able to make very specific recommendations. We have made recommendations having understood what the challenges are in terms of, first and foremost, you have to find ways and the means of ensuring that you create opportunities that will ensure for the traditional herders, until you are able to win them away from that, that you can provide water points, you can provide feeds, and you can encourage them to settle in locations where throughout the year they could have feeds and they could have water. You cannot wake up tomorrow and all you have is ranching, because you already have quite a large chunk of the population in traditional pastoral activities. What do you do with them? You know, so it's not an either or. Any solution that has to be developed for now has to be a combination of both. While we are promoting the long-term objective, is that we now have intensive livestock production. That is a long-term objective.
And that's it from Abuja. It's now back to you, Anne, for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Victoria. To company news now, Stanbic IBTC Bank has rewarded its customers with cash prizes at the grand finale of its Reward for Savings promo season 3.0 right here in Lagos. The Executive Director, Personal and Private Banking, Stanbic IBTC Bank, Mr. Olu Delano, says the bank is passionate about encouraging customers to live a better life and invest by building a saving culture.
A rainy day in Victoria Island, Lagos, but this didn't stop customers from coming to the Stanbic Towers for the season 3.0 grand finale of the Stanbic IBTC Bank Rewards for Savings promo.
Since 2021, we embarked on this journey with the aim of fostering a savings culture and a savings habit. We've talked about atomic habits, doing little things consistently over a long period of time.
From season 1 up till now, we have seen the number of savers increase. Yes, in fact, from the first time when we started in September 2001 up till now, there's been a 451% growth in the number of qualified customers.
The Stanbic IBTC team speaks more on the selection process and plans to build on this success story.
We intend to continue to do this. We're expecting to do a season 4 and a season 5 and a season 6. And each time we do a new season, we twist it a bit so that, we get more customers to join us, more customers to save. And in a culture such as ours, where we don't have a lot of people that save, we encourage you to save and we actually reward you for saving.
To qualify for the promo, you have to save a minimum of 10,000 naira in your Stanbic IBTC Bank savings account or wallet account. Leave it for a minimum of 30 days. And then we do a draw at the end of every month where we pick 70 winners to take away 100,000 naira every month. Every quarter, we give away seven customers to take away 1 million naira each. And this is the grand finale where we have awarded 7 people with 2 million naira.
Angela Oloni is now a millionaire.
The winners can't hide their excitement as loyalty and commitment have been rewarded with different cash prizes.
Seriously overwhelmed. Because as a 2-time winner, I thought maybe it's, when I first got the information, I thought it was fake. But I just want to thank Stanbic because it has been a dream come true. And I pray that God will continue to lift them up. And I promise them that Stanbic IBTC is my bank from now and continues with my family. I really appreciate Stanbic for that. And I say God bless them.
For the bank, the goal is to foster a savings culture, and more customers have been encouraged to get on board by opening an account with
For more business stories, let's join Dominic Iwewu, who's standing by to tell us more.
Thank you, Anne. On business news, the federal government of Nigeria is set to receive a new loan totaling $1.5 billion from the World Bank. According to the Washington-based financial institutions project list, the loan request is set to be approved and disbursed by September the 26th. The loan, which is expected to target projects in crucial sectors such as healthcare, agriculture, and infrastructure, will be distributed through 3 major development projects aimed at improving the country's sustainable development and economic stability. Meanwhile, a financial statement published by the World Bank revealed that Nigeria is the largest debtor to the World Bank's International Development Association as of June 30th this year. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitments to creating a robust financial system and business-friendly economy that will attract more foreign direct investments. He made this known today in Abuja when he met with the global leadership team of Coca-Cola Company, led by its president and chief financial officer, Mr. John Murphy, and the chairman of the Nigerian Bottling Company, Ambassador Segun Akpata. President Tinubu commended Coca-Cola for its long-standing partnership with Nigeria and for promoting investment opportunities that have employed over 3,000 people across 9 production facilities. On its part, the company says it plans to invest $1 billion in Nigeria for the expansion of its business in the next 5 years. To some company news, consumer goods giant PZ Cussons says it has concluded its earlier announced plans to sell its African subsidiaries, citing the depreciation of the Naira as the major reason. In a statement released today on the Nigerian Exchange Limited website, the parent company of PZ Cussons Nigeria says it is looking at partial or full sale, which will reduce exposure to Naira fluctuations. The statement adds that the board has received multiple interests in the sale of its African businesses. Meanwhile, PZ Cussons Nigeria PLC says it has not received any formal notification of divestment from its parent company, but will provide more information once additional details are made available. From there, we head to the domestic stock market, which halted the wins recorded in the last two sessions this week. Lydia Williams has the details.
All right, let's get a sense of how your money performed today. The bulls are taking a breather in Thursday's trade, which for some investors could mean entry into stocks on their radar. But let's look at the sectors. It's all red. With the sectors we track, oil and gas down 0.13%, consumer goods 0.26%, and we've had the banking counter shining for a couple of trades now, but it's down 0.62%. Let's look at the tier 1 banks now, profit-taking. All over there with FBN is giving up most of the gains made in the previous trade, down 9.88% with profit-taking. GTCO down 0.32%, but we see Accessco and Zenith. These losses couldn't counter what we had with 9.88% for FBNH. So 2.71%, that's for UBA. So the week before the central bank meeting, that's a rate-setting meeting next week, we've seen majorly bullish sentiment so far. But today, it's the bears.
And that's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. Outside our shores, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah says that this week's exploding device attacks have crossed all red lines. He accused Israel of what he says represented a declaration of war and promised that actions will be met with a just punishment. Here's Simon Puse with other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Lebanon remains on edge after thousands of electronic devices exploded across 2 days. Eyewitness video shows the moment an explosion went off roughly 51 kilometers southwest of the capital Beirut as handheld radios used by the armed group Hezbollah detonated across the country's south. Lebanon's health ministry said 20 people were killed and more than 450 injured in Beirut's suburbs and the Bekaa Valley. It came a day after pagers used by Hezbollah exploded, killing nearly 12 people, with around 3,000 injured.
The logic of making all these devices explode is to do it as a preemptive strike before a major military operation. So, as important as the event in itself is the indication that this event confirms that there is a serious risk of a dramatic escalation in Lebanon, and everything must be done to avoid that escalation.
Meanwhile, the UN General Assembly has adopted a Palestinian-drafted non-binding resolution demanding Israel end its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory within 12 months. There were 124 votes in favour and 14 against, including Israel, along with 43 abstentions. As a non-member observer state, Palestine could not vote. The resolution is based on a July advisory opinion from the UN's highest court that said Israel was occupying the West Bank, East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip against international law. The Venezuelan opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez has said he was forced to recognize President Nicolas Maduro as the winner of July's disputed election before being allowed to seek asylum in Spain.
Estando en la residencia del embajador de España.
In a video message, Gonzalez said Maduro's aides had coerced him into signing a letter while he was hiding in the Spanish embassy in Venezuela's capital, Caracas, earlier this month. But Jorge Rodriguez, the head of Venezuela's National Assembly and a key Maduro ally, said Gonzalez had willingly written his signature. Electoral authorities loyal to Mr. Maduro announced him the victor in the election, something which was disputed by Mr. Gonzalez and many sections of the international community. 5 women have alleged they were raped by the former Harrods boss Mohammed Al-Fayed when they worked at the luxury London department store. More than 20 female ex-employees who say the billionaire who died last year, aged 94, sexually assaulted them. The documentary and podcast Al-Fayed, Predator at Harrods has gathered evidence that during Mr. Fayed's ownership, Harrods not only failed to intervene but helped cover up abuse allegations. Harrods' current owners said they were utterly appalled by the allegations. North Korea has tested new tactical ballistic missiles using super-large warheads and modified cruise missiles. Photos released by the state news agency there showed Kim Jong-un watching the tests. It is the second time the short-range ballistic missiles have been test-launched in a week. South Korea's military said the latest missiles landed in a mountainous area in the northeast. In a harrowing scene captured on police body cam footage, a 64-year-old Thai woman was found trapped and helpless, entwined in the coils of a python in Thailand's Samut Prakan. Footage showed Arom Arunro lying on the tiled floor of her house with the python, one of the largest snakes in Thailand, wrapped around her body near damp, overgrown bushes. After 2 hours, police and officials rescued Arom, who was then taken to the hospital for treatment. And rescuers have successfully freed a juvenile pygmy blue whale that had wedged itself underneath a private wharf in New Zealand's Kawau Island. The whale showed a little distress as a barge was brought in to dismantle the wharf underneath which it was wedged, but stayed calm throughout the rescue operation. That's according to the Department of Conservation. It then swam into deeper waters after being freed around 6 p.m. local time. Blue whale populations have significantly reduced due to whaling and are listed on the World Wildlife Fund as endangered. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The federal government has declared the 8th edition of the National Youth Games closed with the ceremony holding at the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Asaba, the Delta State capital. Host Delta State emerged champions for the 8th consecutive time, with Lagos and Edo States completing the top 3.
This year, this edition, today in particular.
The final day of the 8th edition of the National Youth Games tagged Asaba 2024 begins with the relay. Delta State outpaces Abia State and Ogun State to win the boys 4x400 meters relay. Delta State Governor Sharif Ovorowori, who was represented by his deputy Monday Onyeme, reaffirms the state's commitment to staging the competition for another year.
I charge you all to continue to earnestly crave for excellence. As Governor of Delta State, I am particularly honored to host this prestigious event in this great city of Asaba for the second time. We are eagerly waiting to receive you again for the 9th edition next year.
The Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, who was represented by a director in the ministry, Patrick Okeke, commends Delta State for hosting a befitting tournament.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to announce that a total of 450 talented athletes were identified across the 36 sports that featured at this year's edition of the Games. I officially declare the 80th edition of the National Youth Games closed.
Team Delta!
46 gold. 31 silver, and 34 bronze.
Delta State finished top of the overall table with 46 gold, 31 silver, and 34 bronze, totaling 111 medals.
This signifies the curtains are closing on the 8th edition of the National Youth Games.
Delta State will host the competition next year in fulfillment of its deal with the federal government.
Away from the games, let's turn attention now to the new look Champions League format. We have the results right here on the screen for you. Informed by Liverpool midfielder Florent Wirtz enjoyed a dream Champions League debut as two first-half goals powered the Bundesliga winners into a 4-0 humiliation of Dutch side Feyenoord in Italy. Arsenal held on to a goalless draw against host Atalanta at the Gewiss Stadium. To other games, Atletico Madrid, Brest and AS Monaco all enjoyed home wins in the new look Champions League format. And that's your Sporting Tonight. I'm Kelly. Thank you guys. Back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has commenced the distribution of sensitive materials to various local government areas of Edo State ahead of Saturday's governorship election today. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Good night.